there, thank you so much again for joining me on this channel. As always, I'm very grateful for all your previous views, likes, subscriptions and shares. We're going to spend some time today exploring the idea in Islam of the 5 pillars. Okay, so no, not those type of pillars, but these type of pillars. That's right, the ones that you find in a building. They're not just there for decorative purposes. They also perform a very important function. That is that they support the structure so it doesn't fall down and doesn't collapse. And that's a great way of thinking about the 5 pillars in Islam, because the 5 pillars of Islam support the Islamic faith. And actually, that's quite a good exercise to do. You might just want to think, maybe pause the video and just think about what supports you in your life. Strip everything away, okay? And just think about what are those core things that actually support you. And once you've done that, it's actually quite an interesting thing to do, because it helps us to connect to this idea of the 5 pillars in Islam. I just want to give a very, very brief history of where the 5 pillars come from. There were 2 holy books in Islam. There's the Holy Quran, which was believed to be dictated to the Prophet Muhammad from the angel Jibril, and there's also the Hadith. Now, the Hadith is a collection of sayings, of wise words that are attributed to the Prophet, and it's here that we can see a mention of the 5 pillars. Now, I've taken a section, I've shortened it, but it says Islam is built on 5. Testimony that there is no deity worthy of worship but Allah, and that Muhammad is his servant and messenger. ... And then it goes on to talk about list of pillars. But isn't that interesting how you have that number 5, and also you also have a taster of that first pillar, which is the Shahada and the statement of faith. There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. It is an all-encompassing phrase which gives us a neat summary of Islam. It's monotheistic, belief in one God, and the significance of Muhammad as a prophet, revealing the word of Allah and leading by example too. And to be a true Muslim, you have to say it 3 times in front of another Muslim. And also, the Shahada is said whispered into the ear of a baby shortly after birth. It is something that a Muslim will try and say before they finally pass away. Okay, it is such an important phrase, this statement of faith, that it's even on the flag of Saudi Arabia. Here it is in Arabic. And I think what's interesting as well is how a nation decided to have this holy text on its national flag. Of course, don't forget as well that in one of my previous videos on the Hajj, we talked about how Mecca, that most important city for Muslims, is of course in Saudi Arabia. So that's the first pillar. As for the second pillar, this is known as Salat, and that is simply prayer. And prayer is a way of connecting with Allah. It's a way of unifying Muslims, and of course, whether they're doing it in the privacy of their own home or collectively in the mosque, there's that sense of community. But also it aligns the mind, the body, the soul. It's a way of realigning yourself with the will of Allah. Allah doesn't need prayer, but humans do. And this act is carried out 5 times a day. And it's worth remembering as well that in Islam, there's no such thing as an intermediary or a special, if you will, priest or someone who's blessed to help initiate prayer. Prayer at home is just as valid as prayer at the mosque. So let's have a look at number 3, which is zakat. And zakat is simply about money. But a bit more than money, hence got a big pile of cash there. It's also about your wealth, and it's when Muslims will give 2.5% of their wealth, okay? Not income, the wealth. And who does it go to? Well, it goes to the needy. It goes to the poor. It goes to those who really need it. There's that collective responsibility in Islam that you need to make sure you look after everybody and encourages self-discipline, good financial management of resources, but also it's a reminder to Muslims that their wealth, their possessions are a gift from Allah. They have stewardship of it if you will, and they have a responsibility to make sure they distribute it fairly. Our fourth pillar, an empty plate, is fasting or Saum. And fasting is carried out particularly during the month of Ramadan, and the Muslim calendar is lunar, and that's in the 9th month, and that's why it always shifts, if you like, throughout the year. There's no sort of fixed point you can say. It always happens at this time of year. And what's interesting is that it's a way of Muslims connecting with Allah, and it's a reminder too that everything comes from Allah, and it symbolizes when the Holy Quran was revealed to Muhammad. Now, there are certain exceptions. If you're pregnant, if you're a child under the age of 12, if you're very poorly, and so forth. But the basic idea is that you won't eat during daylight hours. And what you will do is that you'll eat when it's dark. So that can be quite difficult to do and quite difficult to sustain, as I'm sure you can imagine. But it's a way of connecting with Allah, and of course connecting with your fellow Muslims, because they're going through the same experience as well. And finally, the fifth pillar is Hajj. Now, I've already done a video on this, so I'm not going to spend too much repeating myself, hopefully, but it's a pilgrimage to Mecca. It should be carried out at least once in every Muslim's life. Excuse me. And the whole point of it is that, again, you have this collective experience, and you go and visit sites that are significant in the Islamic faith. So, of course, Muhammad, and of course, there we are, that amazing image of the Kaaba in the central Grand Mosque. And just a couple of things I want to leave you with. So first of all, just be aware that in Islam, there's actually a diversity of opinion and traditions. There are Sunni and Shia Muslims, and that's important because they do have some slightly different ways of interpreting the 5 pillars, and that's something that you may want to explore. I haven't had time to do it in this video, but have a look. They do, for example, they tackle salah, prayer, in slightly different ways. And the third thing you may want to think about as well is, why are tenets of faith so important? So a tenet is a basic principle or a basic idea or your core values. Why are these so important in religions? That gives a sense of tradition. You might want to think about it as a sense of continuity. But have a really good think about why these values are so vital. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching. And as always, enjoy your learning.